Start, Elizabeth.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, members. We're going to start with Subcommittee 1. If the public is listening, yesterday we lost our live stream after 1 p.m. So we are going to go ahead and the Subcommittee 1 members is going to come to order. Clerk, could you please open the roll to take attendance?
Yes, Madam Chair. Delegate Delaney, Delegate Walker, Delegate Avoli.
Present.
Delegate Avoli is present.
Delegate Walker's present.
Delegate Walker is present. Madam Chair, we have a quorum.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Yesterday afternoon, we listened to all of the speakers who came and testified in favor or in opposition to House Bill 1932. So we will have to reconsider our vote because we were in a closed meeting when that happened. So I could entertain a motion to reconsider the vote.
Madam Speaker, I so move. This is Delegate Tran.
Thank you, Delegate Tran. Can I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Delegate Eric. The bill has been motioned and properly seconded. House Bill 1932 from Delegate Levine is before us. Madam Clerk, could you open the roll?
And Madam Clerk, that is a report with amendments.
Report with amendments.
Madam Chair, may I destroy the roll?
Yes, Madam Clerk. I apologize. And Delegate Tran, if you could please restate your motion.
Madam Chair, I would like to report with amendments.
Thank you, Delegate Tran. And do I have a second from Delegate Eric?
Second.
Thank you. Thank you. The bill has been properly reported with amendments. Now the roll is open. Members, please cast their votes.
Delegate Walker,
Delegate Walker votes no.
Delegate Walker votes no. Delegate Delaney. Madam Chair, all members have voted.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. So the bill reports as amended, reports 4-2 to full committee. Thank you, members of that committee. That meeting, the subcommittee meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the subcommittee.
Thank you, Delegate Levine.
Well, good morning, everybody. My name is Mark Sickles. I'm chair of the Full Health, Welfare, and Institutions Committee of the Virginia House of Delegates, and we are going to start our regular 9 a.m. Thursday morning meeting at this point. And so I would like to call the roll first, or open the roll, and indicate your presence on the electronic voting device.
Mr. Chair, would you like me to call the names of the members not voting?
Madam Clerk, please proceed.
Delegate Rasool.
Present.
Delegate Rasool is present. Delegate Adams. Delegate Delaney. Delegate Edmonds.
Present.
Delegate Edmonds is present. Mr. Chair, we have a quorum.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. There are 20 of us here, for those without or just listening. Okay, so this morning we have 2 blocks of bills. We're going to try to get to all of them. I'm not promising we can with this 2 hours, and we have some bills that will still have some debate that have emerged from subcommittee. That's just a fair warning. In block one, the bills have a letter and are need to be reported to appropriations. So we have to get those out. So we're going to consider those first. Do we have Senator Donovan's bill before us? Council, have we been referred? Okay, so the first bill we have is the bill we've dealt with on the floor before. This is the Senate version of a bill that will help our Commonwealth prepare for the day when we have vaccine that we need to mass distribute. So it's a training bill, it's a certification bill. It puts it in order, and it has been reviewed. Our substitute, which I'm going to, if somebody can offer the substitute in a minute, has been vetted by the hospital industry, by the Virginia's doctors, and by our two primary health education universities in Virginia. And proper procedure would be to, I don't know if Senator Donovan would like to speak to it, but we're trying to get this bill over to the Senate as fast as possible, and so that they can consider it. Is Senator Donovan here to speak to the bill? Okay.
Mr. Chair, I would move to lay the substitute from Delegate Bagby's bill on top of this bill.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to lay the House version, it's Delegate Bagby's bill, on top of the Senate version and get it over to the Senate ASAP. And it's been properly moved and seconded. If there are any further discussion of the motion?
Mr. Chair.
Yeah, Delegate Bell.
Given the way in which this is proceeding, do we know if Delegate Bagby and Senator Donovan have talked about, sometimes, as you know, we can save ourselves a conference committee if both sides have gotten together ahead of time?
That's a great question. Senator Donovan texted me.
Mr.
Sometimes
Chairman,
these days run together. Could have been yesterday, could have been the day before. But in a relatively recent day, she texted me saying, "What's going on over there?" And I explained what we were doing, and I told her, "I think you'll like the technical changes that were made to make this work better." And she did not respond to that text. And so Delegate Bagby is over at Education and Health right now presenting this bill to the Senate. So we're going to find out if they like it or not. And hopefully we can avoid conference if that's your question. But I don't know whether we will or not.
Mr. Chairman, I am here.
Okay. Senator Donovan, would you like any comments before we vote this bill out and get it over to you ASAP?
Yes. I'll start by saying I don't have any problems with the House version of the bill. That is basically the bill reconstructed with amendments I am not opposed to. There are some amendments that have been applied in the Senate to the same bill, and I'd like to make sure that we make those changes in the House so that there is no problem with either of these bills. And Delegate Bagby accepted the amendments that we put on over here.
Okay.
I'm happy to speak to those amendments. It's actually a substitute. And so I don't know if you want to put your substitute in first and then we substitute after that, but I'll follow your lead.
So Delegate Bagby accepted these amendments on the Senate side this morning in Education and Health? Is that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Does somebody have these amendments?
I believe Sarah Stanton does.
Ms. Stanton, can you go through the line amendments for us on this bill?
And I'm happy to, if you want me to, Mr. Chairman, if that helps.
Mr. Chair, I can do that, or Senator Donovan can. It's up to you. And I'm also getting the new version to substitute out on the LIS right now as we speak. That's why I'm sorry, I'm shuffling.
So the changes needed an entire new substitute?
Mr. Chair, to weave them into the language of HB 2333 as we reported that bill out of this committee. So it takes the substitute to 2333 that we passed out of HWI and adds the changes to the Senate bill. add the changes that were made to HB 2333 in the Senate into this substitute for SB 1445. One of the reasons we did the substitute also is to make sure that the language stayed identical as the bills went through the process. I can you it should be available online right now. Sometimes there's a brief hang up, but I can point out the changes to you if you would like me to do so.
That would be key. Yes.
Are you able to see the new substitutes? So when you go to LIS, there should be 2 substitutes showing for this bill now under the offered section.
Okay.
We look and see if that's accurate. So, yes, maybe. Okay, if you click on House Committee substitutes, there are 2 showing, and you're going to want, I believe, the second one. Let me make sure that's the proper one. Yes. Okay, so you should click on the second link there. Do you have that before you?
I don't have it yet, but that's my technology here.
And for some reason, I think iHod takes longer to load than if you go through the LIS page that's available to the public.
Okay.
I don't know why.
Yes.
Yes.
Chairman, I only see one substitute offered on 126 for 2363.
You click on, it says House Amendments and Substitutes offered. If you click on that, it takes you to a page where there are 2 options listed.
Chairman, I only have one option listed. There's a House.
Takes a second.
Yeah.
I can see it. Okay. So when you click on the link that says House Committee Floor Amendments and Substitutes offered, doesn't take you to where there's a.
Well, maybe Senator Donovan can just tell us what.
Yes, I'll be happy to. They're not substantial, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah,
The first change, and I hope Sarah got this because this was a changed offer in committee, is on line 13. And instead of 10 years, it would be anybody who was in good standing for 20 years immediately prior to lapsing. We had many nurses that have been home with their children that are highly qualified to give these vaccinations. And they wanted to expand that to be a part of the solution. So that is the first change. The second change, I might need Sarah to read. Sorry.
Yes.
But
yes,
it is in the third paragraph. And the reason behind this amendment is that we have had so many doctors when we worked with MSV and the Nurses Association and VHHA and other localities that just wanted to volunteer space. They had such a hard time with all the information of COVID that's on the website, finding where to go. And quite frankly, I couldn't find it either. So we wanted to be more prescriptive about how VDH would actually make available the opportunity to volunteer. So Sarah, if you'd read that in paragraph 3.
Yes, Senator Donovan, Mr. Chair, the change that Senator Donovan is talking about is in the paragraph that begins line 33 of the substitute that we're now looking at. It would read, to facilitate volunteering, the department shall have a volunteer link on its website's homepage in the same visible location as other links, such as the link for Get COVID Wise, to make the process to volunteer as a healthcare easily accessible. Senator Donovan, would you like me to point out the other changes as well?
You can, Sarah, or I can, but you go right ahead if you want to.
It should have the line of the substitute available at this point. So we did include the change to 20 years, from 10 years to 20 years in the definition of eligible healthcare provider. That's in both places with regards to anybody licensed by VDH, and not by VDH, by the Department of Health Professions, and also the EMS providers whose license is in good standing. There was another change to the definition of eligible healthcare provider that makes clear that employees of localities, pharmacies, and hospitals may also fall in that category of eligible healthcare providers. So even though they're employees, they can go through this process of registering, receiving training from VDH, and being eligible to administer the vaccine at these different locations. It does also include the provision in the last enactment. takes out the enactment regarding what's our fourth enactment regarding the institutions of higher education, their role in this process. And then in the last enactment that is about the fire departments, EMS agencies, and volunteer rescue squads, where we had questions about why it was restricted solely to full-time employees, makes a change to make clear that it would be available to full-time or part-time non-volunteer EMS providers or paramedics, but also any licensed practical nurses or registered nurses through that process who can set up these clinics, the ones that are already basically doing this. So those are the changes to the bill.
Okay, you've heard the changes. They don't sound revolutionary.
Mr. Chairman, two things to tell you.
Certainly.
I want to make sure that I'm accurate here. Number one, our council forgot to read in the substitute the language about the employees also volunteering. So I have not had that conversation with Delegate Bagby, and I need to. I don't think that it's in any way obstructive. It's just making sure localities can have their have their employees volunteer. And then, Sarah, I did have one question. I misunderstood. Go ahead.
This is something new that's not in.
It's the one Sarah read. It's in our bill. It's in the substitute. We forgot to discuss it with Delegate Bagby.
But it's passed this. It's passed the Education and Health Committee.
Yes, Mr. Chair. It
Yes,
was
sir.
adopted by the Senate Education and Health Committee as well. So these bills are identical.
Okay, is there anything further?
One follow-up. Yes, Mr. Chairman. I understood different language in the last paragraph, Sarah. The point was to, how did you language the non-volunteer? The key here is that there are rescue squads in Virginia that are volunteer-based instead of employed, and they are already creating vaccination centers, and they don't want to be prohibited by the language in here. So could you read that again? Because I thought it read differently, Sarah. I'm sorry.
Yes, are we talking about line 108 in the fourth enactment? Is that the piece?
Yes, ma'am.
The language.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, the language that was adopted by the Senate for House Bill 2223 and that we have before us says that localities with fire departments, EMS departments, and volunteer rescue squads employing full or part-time non-volunteer EMTs, paramedics, licensed practical nurses, or registered nurses may establish and staff vaccine administration clinics for the first purpose of administering COVID-19 vaccine. And then it talks about the vaccines to be administered at such clinics only by EMTs, paramedics, LPNs, and RNs who have been trained. It does not include in this paragraph, and I'm reading through it one more time to make sure that I'm giving you accurate information. It does not make clear.
Mr. Chairman, I think my concern is that it says employing, which is in conflict with volunteer. And so I had thought we had stricken, I can fix this in the Senate. Yeah.
Is this on the site that we're worried about, Sarah, or is just because in the bill it was confusing, might have been confusing at when we were talking about sites, physical locations. Volunteers organizations normally don't own the property they're volunteering on, and that's why they weren't mentioned there. But they're definitely allowed in the previous bill to administer the vaccine. Are we on the same topic, Sarah?
No, Mr. Chair. I think we actually have a slightly different issue, and I see what Senator Donovan is saying here. So the issue that we discussed in HWI, whatever day that was Delegate Orrock's question about why we were cutting out volunteer EMS and firefighters. That issue was solved by the fact that the definition of eligible healthcare provider does include volunteers. So that means that volunteer EMS and firefighters that work with the department and go through the training process are eligible to administer the vaccine under some first enactment.
So we had nothing to fix there. Okay.
That one's fine, but this enactment is specific to those localities that are already operating or are planning in the planning process to operate administration sites through their fire departments, EMS agencies, and it does include volunteer rescue squads there. I think the issue is exactly what Senator Donovan points out. The language says employing full or part-time non-volunteer EMTs. I think that what we need to do there, Senator Donovan, to address your concern is we need to change that language where it says employing full or part-time non-volunteer, that needs to say, basically.
Sarah, if I may, I think we can just strike it. It just let the localities with fire departments, emergency medical services, or rescue squads may establish. Strike that line because the prior paragraphs already address who can volunteer. We don't need to conflict it with that language.
Yeah,
That's
so moved.
solve the problem.
Okay. All right. We've got these technical amendments before us. Does anybody want to move them and second them?
Mr. Chair, I would withdraw my earlier motion and move the new substitute with amendments.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we pass this current substitute. If there's I hope there's no further discussion because we've got a long day, a long morning here. Hearing none, clerk, please open the roll.
Mr. Chair, is this a bill that has to go to appropriations?
I don't think so.
Okay.
No. We're just reporting the substitute. Okay, clerk, will you call the remaining? There's got two more.
Delegate Edmonds.
Aye.
Edmonds votes aye. Mr. Chair, all members vote.
Okay, the clerk, please close the roll, and the bill is reported with a substitute on a vote of 21-0. Thank you very much. And Delegate Tran, you have a bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee.
Thank you. Welcome. See you on the other side. Delegate Tran, don't you have a bill that we need to deal with early here?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I am presenting the speaker's bill.
Okay. Please proceed.
Just give me one moment to pull up my materials. Thank you. I do have a substitute that needs to be moved.
There's someone who'll move the substitute.
Move the substitute.
There's a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we report the substitute to HB 2206. Delegate Tran, can you explain the substitute?
I will explain the substitute, Mr. Chair. Thank you. So this substitute helps to expand the eligibility for the existing child care subsidy program to include families whose incomes are up to 85% of the state median income, and they have at least one child who's 5 or younger and has not yet started kindergarten. It also adds as an eligible activity for the purpose of this program for all participants, job search activities, so that these individuals are able to access child care assistance during the pandemic. Just to give you a sense of what this would mean is if you had two families here in Northern Virginia where we have the highest, kind of state median income, if you are, I was just going to pull up my notes. I'm sorry. The difference between the families that are able to participate is pretty great. So, for example, a family under the current cap would be earning $65,000 per year, and they'll be able to get help to pay for their childcare for their children. But this expanded eligibility allows a family of 4 who earn $75,000 per year to be able to participate. I think we've all seen the devastating effects of COVID-19 on the economy and particularly on families and on women. In the December 2020 jobs report from the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, the net job loss across the country was borne by women. And we know that childcare is a critical issue and needs to be addressed to ensure that our families are able to be able to participate in the economy as it recovers. So the entirety of the costs borne from this program would be paid through the federal grant, and so it does not require general funds. I welcome your questions. And we also have staff from the Department of Education and the administration who can speak to that.
Delegate Tran. I have a note here that, and I don't know exactly how this fits in. So Sarah, listen up to, and in the administration witnesses, if this bill is amended to 85% of the median income, it does not need to go to appropriations because we can pay for it if we give it 85% of the median income, pay for this completely with non-general funds. So it would not have to go to appropriations, which is the reason you were going first to get it up there. But anyway, is that an amendment that would be friendly, Delegate Tran?
Yes, sir. And I believe that's why the administration and the speaker are working closely hand in hand to make sure that we fell under the federal grant entirely and not have to tap into general funds.
Terrific. That's what we're trying to do.
So moved.
Okay. So the amendment's been moved. I was going to have Sarah read it, but Sarah, are we okay?
Mr. Chair, this is all included in a substitute to the bill that I'm pretty sure is available online. Let me make sure. Available through LIS, and it includes all the changes Delegate Tran has explained, including the 85% change, which looking at the
Terrific. So if we can withdraw the motion and move the substitute, we'd be in good shape.
Move the substitute, Mr. Chairman.
It's been moved and seconded by Delegate Rasul to move the substitute. Is there any all in favor of the substitute? Say aye.
Aye.
Substitute is, of course. Is there any further discussion of the substitute? If not,
other than we can't see it yet.
Oh,
just popped in.
Okay. Do you need a second, Delegate Head?
If you can go ahead and call. You can go ahead and call it. I can scan it pretty quick.
I moved report substitute.
Okay. Well, we have a motion already out there. I don't think we need another motion. I think we're in a motion. We are allowing as is anyone's right to peruse the substitute before we vote. But as I tell the gentleman, this is a non-general fund appropriation now. This is a way we're going to use our federal funds. Got it?
We're all good. We're all good. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Good to go. So, clerk, can you open the roll, please?
Different bill.
Mr. Chairman, point of order.
Is this the correct bill?
Mr. Chairman.
Delegate Hope.
This is not the Delegate Trans bill that we're voting on.
Mr. Chair,
Delegate Tran
was it?
I was presenting the bill on behalf of Delegate. I said in my opening remarks, Mr. Chair, I was presenting on behalf of the Speaker's bill.
I wasn't listening.
The proper motion, the motion that was made, if this is what you're getting at, Delegate Hope, the motion that was made to report the substitute, and that does not say that in front of us. Is that what you're?
That's what I was saying. Yes.
Okay.
Point of order.
Yep. We need to have the proper motion on the voting board. There we go. The roll has been open. Please cast your vote. And the vote to report the substitute to HB 2206 passes on a vote to 20-0. Thank you. I thank the members. Thank you, Delegate Tran, and thank the Speaker for bringing this to us. Okay, I'm going to start in block 1 now, and the first bill we have there, and that may not have a fiscal impact anymore, but we're still going to send it to appropriations, is HB 2002, Delegate Samir's bill. Now, Samir, you want to briefly tell us, this is a complicated, one of these complicated DSS bills, and if you could keep it brief, the subcommittee has worked this over.
Sure thing. Basically, we're trying to cover the 52,000 children that go through our court system every year for child support and are not covered by FAMUS or Medicaid, and they are eligible. for families and Medicaid. And there's a lot of, it was very hashed out, of course, in subcommittee. And we came to that conclusion that that there is that this is the best way to go forward. I'm going to read some points I think that are important to note.
But somebody could move to report and refer to appropriations.
So moved.
Okay. Okay.
Mr. Chair,
Sarah, I got you. We can speak to the motion, Delegate Samira, so that we've got a motion before us to report and refer. And Sarah, can you tell us what your concerns are here?
I just need to make it clear that there was a substitute that was adopted in the subcommittee, and so the motion would be report and refer the substitute.
Okay. It just does that, I think. Okay. Did someone make that motion?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and reported that we report the substitute. Now we're speaking to the substitute to try to move things a little quicker. Delegate Samira, you were just finishing up.
Yeah, I didn't see any fists on there, so I'm not exactly sure. What the procedure is.
These letters just come down.
And then the fact that there's no obligation on the courts. I think that was something that they were concerned about, and we talked about it in subcommittee, and Sarah had mentioned that.
Well, you won't if there's no cost. You probably have good luck upstairs. Delegate Orrock.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. What was the subcommittee recommendation, please?
Delegate Samir, can you inform us on the subcommittee recommendation on this bill?
Yeah, it was a 4-2 report out.
Okay.
Thank you.
Is there any further discussion? As I said, these things this is an agency bill? Okay. All right. I don't know why there's opposition to it, but maybe, I don't know.
Move to report.
So it's been moved, and is there a second?
Second.
Been moved and seconded that we report and refer to appropriations HB 2002. Delegate Edmonds, I see you're the only one who hasn't voted.
Aye.
Okay, clerk, please close the roll. And HB 2002 report is reported and referred to appropriations on a vote of 22-0. Thank you, Delegate Samira.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
we just, I'm not sure. Can we take that one for just a moment? I think appropriations has something they need to add. So we may need to come back to that one.
Okay, can we destroy the roll? I'm sorry, everybody. Destroy the roll. I should. Delegate Samir, did you know about the appropriations amendment?
No, I have not gotten an email, but council probably knows better than I do at this point. So
it probably is the email that takes the fist off of it.
Okay.
Knowing how this works.
Mr. Chair, no amendment, but the motion actually would just be to report with the substitute. They no longer need the bill in appropriation.
Okay.
moved.
Second.
It's moved and seconded just to report the substitute. But they did do some magic up there. Please cast your vote on your voting iPad. Delegate Edmonds.
Aye.
Delegate Fowler. Okay, clerk, please close the roll. And the bill reports with a substitute on a vote of 21-0. The next bill on the list is my drugs transparency bill, and I'd just like to skip that for a minute because we need to plow through this. Come back to a Delegate Tran. You have HB 2035.
Yes, sir. This bill passed out of subcommittee, I believe unanimously. And what it does is it enhances the subsidized employment program through the TANF program. And it increases the subsidy to $1,000 for the employer and allows the earnings that a TANF recipient receives while participating in subsidized employment to not be counted towards their eligibility for TANF. So what that means is they'll be able to receive both their TANF benefits and the money that they're earning through the employment. And in particular, subsidized employment has been a proven strategy to help really vulnerable job seekers and workers be able to get a toehold in the labor force, get some experience, and then be able to use that to translate it into full-time competitive employment that's unsubsidized. And I think what's really important as we're facing an economic recovery is to make sure that our most vulnerable people here in Virginia are not going to be left behind. Given the shifts in the labor market, you'll see that, it's really contracting in terms of some of our entry-level jobs, and there will be lots of competition. And so we want to make sure that our TANF recipients are getting the experience and the skills they need to be able to compete. So I hope that you'll pass it. This is an administration bill.
Okay. Is there any amendments to this?
We did have an amendment, and the line amendments were to clarify the piece about while you're in the subsidized employment that you are able to maintain your TANF eligibility and benefits.
Okay, is anybody going to move? Is it a substitute or is it a line amendment, Sarah?
Mr. Chair, it's a line amendment. That line amendment was adopted in the subcommittee. It is already available on LIS, so everything is ready.
Does this go to appropriations?
Yes. I mean, it's a TANF expenditure.
I move to report and refer. I move to report with amendments and refer to appropriations.
Second.
Okay, is there any discussion of that motion? Okay, this bill passed out unanimously, and please open the roll, Madam Clerk. Thank you, Delegate Tran, for bringing this bill. HB 2035 is reported. Delegate Hayes. Delegate Edmonds.
Aye.
Delegate Edmonds votes aye, and so on a vote of 22-0, HB 2035 is reported and referred with amendments to appropriations. Our next bill is we've done, and that was on my list. That was the Speaker's bill. And then HB 2230, Delegate Bell, supported decision making. Tell us about this bill. And I
was saying amazing things, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, members of the committee, this is House Bill 2230. This is an issue you might recall came up last year. The issue would be that there's a continuum of support that we provide special needs Virginians. At the full extent as a full guardianship where you go to court, you get approved by the judge. It's a lengthy and candidly expensive process. Most of you have heard this, but I'm literally in the middle of it with my son who just turned 18. So I can sort of speak personally that it's hard even for a lawyer and legislator to navigate through. Underneath that, if you will, is something called a power of attorney, where certain powers are given by the principal to a supporter, and that can then act in his stead. That's cheaper and easier. And then further down the spectrum are what presumably the vast majority of Virginians do, which is they help take care of family members, neighbors, friends, but probably mostly family, where they help the person get through life, navigate all the complicated things that the rest of us take for granted. And this is at that end of the spectrum. And the issue is when a court is reviewing how to handle a guardianship, one of the options would be, at least legally, and to be clear, it's already legal under Virginia law, but one of the legal options would be to say that John Smith doesn't need a full guardian. He can manage things, but needs some support. And this would formalize that. And we thought this was an interesting idea because it is allowed under current law, but it's not being done very much. And so it was sent off. It wasn't my bill, and it was sent off to a commission to review. It came back and we all got the letter, and I looked around to see if anyone else was carrying it, and I saw that it wasn't. So I thought, since the commission said we should do this, I would carry it. So I'm saying that, meaning it's not a bill that I started with. In any case, that's the bill, Mr. Chairman. What it does is it first off, it says that when a guardianship petition is being considered, this should be one of the options considered because it is at least intrusive way to do this, or maintains the most freedom for the principal. Second, it has the department create model versions of this so it's easier to use and people know what they're doing. It would involve some training and best practices. So it is something that can be done under current law. The commission reviewed it and thought it would be much more likely to be done if it was better known, better publicized, and if we had, again, some best practices and prepared documents. There's a parallel to the advanced medical directives we took up. Well, very few of you were on the committee back then, but they were always legal, but very few people were using them. We thought they were a good idea, and so we had a bill similar to this to put them in code, make it easier, and let people know about it. So, Mr. Chair, that's the bill. It came out of subcommittee without any controversy. Subsequent to that, a group stepped forward and said they didn't like it, never liked it, and you put it over to today to give everybody who wanted to speak whatever chance you chose to give them to speak. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Delegate Bell. And before I ask the members if they have questions for Delegate Bell, just want to inform you that there are no opponents signed up this morning that are on my list. But we do have support, and I don't think we'll need to hear from them unless there are questions that Delegate Bell can't answer or he needs support on. But the support comes from Behavioral Health Department, the Virginia Network of Private Providers, the Disability Law Center of Virginia, and Voices for Virginia's Children are available in here today to testify for it if need be. So I open the floor up for questions for the patron.
Mr. Chair.
Delegate Price.
I want to thank the patron for continuing the conversation from last year. And it seems like though the ability is there, the knowledge of such needed to be made more public. And so in an effort to get that culture shift to understanding that this is available, I have a motion at the appropriate time.
Thank you. Anybody else have a question for Delegate Bell? Okay, this might be the appropriate time.
Move to report, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
I think we have to, do we have to?
Leave I heard report and refer.
We have to report.
Move to report and refer, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
Second.
Motion is to report HB 2230 and refer it to the Committee on Appropriations. Madam Clerk, please open the roll. And members, make your wishes known on the voting iPad. We're moving right along here. Everybody look down, get there. Okay. Delegate Edmonds. I know you're out there. Delegate Edmonds.
Vote aye. Vote aye.
Delegate
There's
Edmonds.
a patron problem, I think.
Delegate Edmonds votes aye. And HB 2230 is reported and referred to the Appropriations Committee on a vote of 22-0. Delegate Bell, moving along, you have another bill about therapeutic day treatment.
Yes, sir.
HB 2301. We have had a couple other bills that address this issue in different ways earlier this year, but please tell us what's in your bill.
Okay, so members of the committee, this is likely to be a more tendentious or contentious bill. The issue is therapeutic day treatment, and for those of you that don't know what that is, that's a program that allows for much more intensive care to be delivered, usually identified through the schools for special needs children. And you could imagine a school counselor sees a kid who's really struggling, in trouble, and it exceeds his or her ability to manage. And so this was one of the primary programs we have had that you can sort of, if you will, upgrade to the next level of care. It involves very intensive care, both in terms of time and types of care that is delivered. It's a very sizable program, or at least it was. In the fiscal years 2016, 2017, 2018, it involves expenditures of about $180 million. So it's a big program. What we found is, and you might remember there was some debate on the floor, I think there's been other issues before this panel, that a significant something happened last summer, I guess summer of 2019. And if you heard this from your localities, we certainly did in Central Virginia, suddenly there were two things happening. Students who had been approved before were not getting reapproved. And when they were getting approved, they were receiving fewer, they call them units, but fewer care units. And sometimes the approval of the units was so modest that it was effectively a denial. It did not accomplish the goals. Now, it may not be the exact same student. So that first grader who was getting the care 3 years ago has graduated out, but there's always another first grader that needs it. And these are people that have been in the system for many years, even decades, and said all of a sudden there are these denials. They exceed any annual variance. They exceed any somebody not liking a certain counselor, any of the usual ways that you might try to identify why this is happening is not happening. And so that was happening at the local level. And so last year, you might recall, there was some discussion on the floor about this. And this, to be clear, precedes COVID. And now COVID has itself impacted this program dramatically. But that's the issue. Now, Mr. Chair, I've got a whole file full of stats because we asked DMAS to provide statewide stats, and they have. Sarah, can you call that up? Is there some way I can show it on the screen so people can see it?
Yes, Delegate, I think we're going to have to screen share. I can try to do that right now if you can give me a moment.
Okay, I'm okay. It looks like it's going to let me.
Okay.
So is it showing? Is it showing? And is it showing the chart? I can't see what everybody's seeing.
Yes, Delegate Bell, it's showing the chart you'd sent me.
Okay, so members of the panel, there's various ways to present the information, but this is probably the best. One of our concerns is that it was only happening again at the local level, that somehow Region 10, which is our CSB, or Albemarle County, or some of my 5 or 6 schools, but somehow they were not doing it right. There was something they were getting wrong. And this shows, I think, clearly that they weren't. If you want the numbers, what happened as of June, right in June of 2019, there was a change of, and this was in cost of care, but by 33 against the equivalent year. TDT comes in much more during the school year than during the summer, so you can see the cyclical pattern here. But the year similar, same year month, 33% lower, 33% lower, 53% lower, 39% lower, 48% lower, 50% lower, 39% lower. Before that, the changes have been in the one single digit range, just some variance from year to year as people were. And you can see it here. And again, I want to underline, if you look at the far right of the chart, you can see how post-COVID, of course, the numbers decreased very dramatically to almost zero, because this is a program where the kids are identified through the school systems typically. And in fact, that's what, like in Albemarle County, the care is delivered directly with the schools, even though it's not by the schools, but it's through the TDT program. Okay, Sarah, you could take that off, I think.
Delegate Bell, I think you need to
I'm
check
sorry.
something
Okay.
that says in screen sharing.
That's fine. Thank you, everybody. Sorry about that. Okay. So, so members of the panel, we've then been in communication with DMAS. They can, will, or I will tell you that they will say that some of these kids are now getting care through in-home placement, in-home delivery, which would be an offset since they're not getting it through the schools. But I think we have sort of more general issues. Now, when we tried to drill down why this happened, and you might say, well, I didn't vote for that. Yeah, that's true. There was no change in the statute. There wasn't even a change in the regs. What happened was when the MCOs were put in place, they appeared to be using a much different interpretation of the medical necessity language. So at no time did anyone on this panel say, this is a change we want to make. Let's cut the number of kids being helped by half. But that is, in fact, what had been happening. Now, Mr. Chair, with regards to the bill does several things. The first is it would require DMAS to specifically identify what are the criteria to get into the program, actually lay out the definition, with more than just saying medical necessity. Hey, MCOs, you figure it out. Number two, it would ensure DMAS would then have to go behind and ensure that the MCOs were in fact using that definition. Number three, it sets up an appeals process for the specific cases where there was a denial. Not surprisingly, that's where there's the biggest cost. And if you like the idea but think it costs too much and we're spending money on paperwork and not on the kids, that would be the place to get rid of it. In other words, that's a case-by-case review, which is obviously very complicated and expensive. And then number four, they need to report back to us both what's happening with this program, but then what's being spent on alternative programs. Because again, in the long run, the expectation is that TDT will be phased out in favor of a more comprehensive approach. This was kind of created step by step, but we're not there yet. And in conversations with DMAS, we're not there now. We're not going to be there in June. We're not likely to be there in a year. And so the issue is right now we had a program in place. It may have been imperfect, but it was providing care and options for these school counselors. The program was, again, substantially reduced prior to COVID. Now, right now, the COVID numbers, and there's a reason why I didn't stretch it out, the numbers would look even worse. I think we understand that with COVID, that's a COVID cause. But Mr. Chair, that's the bill. That's a long presentation. There's some people that have said they want to speak. I don't know if they made it to your room.
Well,
I'm happy to answer questions.
No, we do have a few people. I just want to say to everyone in the audience, the subcommittee, the Joint Oversight Subcommittee on Health and Human Resources, this is our number one priority. We've already sent one bill to them on this topic this year, maybe two. And it is a complicated subject. I think you gave a pretty good history of it, so we want to get a handle of it. Some people say that therapeutic day treatment is not evidence-based. Now, I'm completely open-minded, so you're seeking definitions and everything is exactly what we're going to try to do over this year. And I do think that maybe the people who are here in the room that support the bill are the Legal Aid Justice Center and the Virginia Network of Private Providers, but with no position, but maybe the most important person we could hear on this would be Alyssa Ward from DMAS. If with the committee's consent, we'll ask her to come into the room first, and then if we need any further discussion, we can ask the groups that want to speak for it. Ms. Ward, can you join us and talk about DMAS's position and how we've got to this point and what we need to do to get everybody on a common understanding of what this is?
Yes, Delegate, can you hear me?
We can hear you. Welcome. Good morning.
Good morning. Yes, so I'm here this morning to represent DMAS, and we hold no position on this bill, but I'm here to answer any technical questions.
Okay. So do you have, what is the department doing now to oversee the MCOs generally? I mean, we have put some of our most vulnerable population in managed care a few years ago. And I tell everybody we're still in a transition from direct delivery of services to MCOs doing this now. Can you tell us what kind of internal programs you have to take up complaints about the denial of services?
Sure. So there are processes for appeal on these decisions. The appeal first goes to the MCOs, and then there is a process where if that appeal is, if someone wants to go to a secondary appeal, they can come to DMAS. DMAS is required to provide a complete de novo or fresh review of that decision, and all parties are allowed to submit any supporting evidence at any point in DMAS's review. So there is an appeal process, and this bill would duplicate that process and actually would require DMAS to establish, in addition to that appeal process, an entirely new parallel process for reviewing every single denial or reduction of TDT services by each contracted MCO. So this would add an additional level.
Okay. So committee, I think maybe you interpreted what I think we should do. In my opinion, we need to straighten this all out, and we need to have the oversight that I discussed a minute ago to make sure we're not going to duplicate things, and we can understand the medical part of this as well better. I mean, this is a program that you're eligible for if you qualify for Medicaid, and so it's there's been school divisions that have taken more advantage of it than others, and that may be fine. But we just don't understand what is going on out there right now with all these change. Okay, I'll shut up and ask members if they have a question for Delegate Bell.
Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, Delegate Price.
So I guess it's not a question. Speaking to the bill.
Yeah, please proceed.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I would love for this to be a part of the conversation that the Joint Commission is already connected with, because it's, to me, a little bit more than just a provider's opportunity to appeal a decision. As you've stated, this needs a comprehensive look, especially if some of the trends that we're hearing anecdotally are that it's possible that some of the terminations of these contracts and the lessening of services might be hitting certain providers disproportionate to others. But I think all of the conversations that I've had around this topic with Delegate Bell and actual providers is, what is the impact to the community, and what is the impact to the people that need the services, and in this case, the children that need the services. So I would ask Mr. Chairman if you all are taking that up, that this be further looked at by an independent body, which I also think, just because, full transparency, there is distrust between the department and providers because of perceived biases. And so that joint commission could be an independent look where I believe that the outcome, wherever it should land, would be able to mend some fences that definitely, or mend some bridges, I should say, that have been burned.
Is there any further commentary on HB 2301?
Mr. Chair.
Delegate Bell. Delegate Bell.
I don't want to short circuit anybody else who wanted to speak. I have a comment on what Delegate Price said.
Plug up, please. Please proceed.
So one of the issues that has come up, so last fall when we first approached EMAS, they did encourage us to encourage people to appeal. And they sent us some numbers of statewide appeals, and I think they're in the single digits or barely double digits. I will say that's consistent with what we found, and I think that the reason is that the appeals are largely parent-driven. And what I mean is the very students who are really struggling, whose parents are in great stress, are not particularly, they have a hard time following through the very things that are making it, stressing them with their kids also makes it harder for them to pursue an appeal, which it amounts to an insurance appeal. And so I understand that DMAS doesn't want to create a parallel process. That's a legitimate thing to worry about. I will say the current process isn't working. And if it makes more sense to improve the process they have, that's fine. The cost tag that came back with them creating a new process was so high that I understand that'll give heartburn to people, again, that want to make sure the money gets to the kids. It's just, we're seeing half as much money for the program, not half, between 35 and 50% reduction in number of kids served and or amount of money reaching those kids prior to COVID. And so something very substantial happened. The appeals process they have in place is not sufficient or isn't working. And the fact that it took us, this was October of, it's been almost 2 years, a year and a half. It's been a year and a half since the numbers fell off a cliff. And there's no hidden agenda here. If you're looking at it up in appropriations, it doesn't have to be this bill. Right. Whatever would keep this moving. I'm terrified of it going off to commission, and then we have another year.
Delegate Bell, the legislative branch is one of our duties is to provide oversight of the executive branch. This is a primary purpose. It's why we have 3 branches of government. We have heard this loud and clear for over a year now, over a year and a half. Their complaints mostly coming from providers, frankly, more than the parents. But we've heard this. We need to look at it. We need to take a comprehensive look. That is our job as a legislature, to oversee the executive branch and what they're doing. And that's what we plan to do, regardless of whether your bill passes or not, with our joint oversight subcommittee. This is the number one or number 2 issue that we will be looking at. We probably would have done work in this area this year had it not been for COVID, and that really draining time on so many other issues. Anyway, that's just my 2 cents. It is a priority.
Mr. Chair, then, if I might, whatever is the place where this should go, they would make it part of the conversation or the ideas, or I don't care if you table the bill and send a letter, but just some way that we don't go another year where everybody kind of says, we'll take care of it later. At the tip of the spear, they really are struggling.
I've already committed to Delegate Price, almost in blood, that we're going to be looking at this issue. She had a bill. Delegate Head had a bill on similar things, and that's what we're for. We're listening. I've heard this directly from the public, so it is a top priority. Does anybody else want to speak to the bill 2301?
Chairman, is the recommendation to table with a letter? Is that where we're going with this?
Yeah, I think that would be good. We could report and refer to appropriations, and we could send it to our own subcommittee there. But I think tabling with a letter would probably be good, so that we can tell the Senate how important this is too, because it is a joint oversight subcommittee.
So move.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we table this gently, this really well-meaning bill, and send a letter from the chairman to the leaders of the Joint Oversight Subcommittee. Okay. No more further discussion. The bill is before us. To lay the bill on the table gently. Please cast your vote. Okay, Delegate Edmonds.
Aye.
Delegate Edmonds votes aye, and the motion to lay the bill on the table passes on a vote of 14 to 8. Thank you very much, Delegate Bell.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
We are going to be working on that, and we're going to keep you informed as we go.
Thank you.
Yep. Our next bill, I guess we have to go back to my my drug transparency bill on HB 2020-007 in the block that needs to go to appropriations. Mr. Chairman, this committee, I'm speaking to my bill. This is a work in progress. If we passed a bill like this, there are 10 states that have it. We would be the first Southern state to take a step to try to unravel and have better understanding of the prices of drugs in the various categories that we have to purchase them in, and their aggregate changes. And we would know when there has been increases over certain amounts, over acceptable amounts in the future. And we have reincorporated some language from our last testimony at subcommittee, if those of you were able to hear it, to allow this rebate process. There's people that believe that we need to have the rebate available at the point of sale. As I said at subcommittee, this rebate issue is interesting because it really works 100% against transparency. And the people, those of us who want drug prices lower, want to make sure that any discounts that mass purchasers are able to get, either the wholesalers or the PBMs that buy directly from the brand name pharmaceutical companies, will pass that on. We got to make sure that that discount is getting to the patient at the end. We believe this is a minor first step. I mean, if you vote against this bill, I'm not trying to say this bill is going to solve a problem other than helping us understand better what we're doing, and it is still a work in progress as we move through the system. So, Sarah, if you wouldn't mind talking about informing us, especially for the subcommittee who heard testimony earlier this week, what changes are made in this current substitute, which is before us this morning, or will be before us, hopefully. If someone would move the substitute, we would talk about that. Okay, the substitute's been moved and seconded, and it's before us. And Sarah, could you discuss with us what changes have we made in the bill subsequent to the subcommittee hearing the other day?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I've released the newest substitute through LIS. It should be available momentarily if it's not currently. This new substitute is, there weren't a lot of changes from the original substitute. There are a number of smaller places where we're tweaking language, so I'm going to just describe those for you briefly. In this bill, first off, there is the threshold for reporting for drugs, and that was reset back to $100. The next is that the Bureau of Insurance had a couple changes around some definitions. So we basically, within this bill, are now referring back to several definitions that already exist in the code. For example, the definitions of health insurance coverage and health insurance issuer. So that keeps consistency within the code, and we're using similar terms in similar ways. We also changed the definition of rebate in this bill to do similar. There is an existing definition of rebate in the code now. So the definition of rebate was amended to refer to that existing code section. We added in the section about, tell you where that is in here. Sorry, I should be doing that. I'll find it. Well, we added a definition of biosimilar, and I had it flagged and I've now lost my flag for that. But we added a definition of biosimilar to make clear what, there we go. It's towards the end in section 34.1-3442.02, where we're looking at information that will be collected from manufacturers. We added a definition of biosimilar there to make clear what we're talking about. We're talking about collecting pricing information about biosimilars. And then there were some changes to language in this next section, the last, not the last section, second to last section, which is 54.1-3436. This is the section about data reporting by wholesalers. And the changes to that section are that we changed the language on reporting, shifting from a mandatory report to a situation in which reporting would be required when the Department of Health, who's sort of administering this program, determines that the data that they have received from health carriers, pharmacy benefit managers, and manufacturers is insufficient to get at the purpose of what we're doing here, the collecting of data, then the Department of Health would require wholesale distributors to report certain information. That information is laid out on line 455 through 463. And that was tweaked a bit as well to eliminate the requirement for reporting by payer type, and now just refers to information that is collected relevant within the last calendar year and related to the 25 costliest drugs dispensed in the Commonwealth, or the 25 costliest drugs in each of those 4 categories. And that, I believe, sir, is it for the changes in this substitute.
One of a criticism of this bill would be that a lot of this information is out there already, and to some degree, or maybe a large degree, that's true. Putting it in one place is a Herculean task that this bill tries to take. So are there any, let me tell you, before I open the floor to ask questions of me, I want to tell you that we have 2 people in the audience from the Department of Health who might be able to explain or that can tell us about this from their perspective, since they would be running it. We have one speaker who wants to speak against the bill, Scott Johnson, and I don't know if he has read the substitute, but so why don't we, just for our education here, ask one of the, either Ms. Beasley or Ms. Allen from the Department of Health to just discuss this issue overall, and if they have any comments on the bill. I think they're here for expert advice, but
Mr. Chair, on your bill, House Bill 2007,
oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry. Look at 2107. Let me back up a minute. We got a lot more people. I was jumped to 2107. So we've got quite a number of people that want to speak for. We have a couple against, and we have no positions from several. So I apologize for that. We do have a person from VDH here, though, that could maybe, if we could bring Ms. Sondrangian in to do what I said we wanted to do a second ago.
Good morning. I'm here. Good morning, Chair, and good morning, members of the committee. My name is Suresh Soundaraj, I'm the Chief Information Officer for Virginia Department of Health. Currently, administration has no position on this bill yet. As far as the reporting piece of it, what we could say is the Department of Health itself does not have the capability to do this, but we work with the nonprofit organization, Virginia Health Information, VHI. So they already have a program which kind of does similar stuff with the all players claims database. What
Right.
we think is, was that a question? Sorry.
No, I'm sorry. I was just agreeing. Yeah, this bill, the reason it would go to appropriations if we move this forward is for that reason, to help pay for that. But please proceed.
Yeah. So they basically, they will modify their current existing program, add a few data elements, and work with the appropriate parties to get the data collected and reported to Virginia Department of Health. And we in turn will publish this on our website. And our Office of Licensure and Certification, as Delegate Sickles alluded to, they will basically, if there is not enough report, not enough data that we need to follow up, we will do that.
Okay, terrific. So are there any questions for our expert witness or for me at this point? And then I'll ask people who are against this bill to speak first, and then the people for it. Is it because there's more of those? No questions. I hear no questions. Nobody wants to be recognized. Okay, let's start with there's two individuals that representing, well, at least one representing an organization here to speak against the bill. One is Andrew O'Connor from the Association for Accessible Medicines. Mr. O'Connor, welcome.
Thank you, Chairman Sickles. I wanted to start by thanking you and thanking members of the committee for hearing this bill, and also to say that our opposition to the bill is a little misleading in this case. As an industry, we view these bills and the idea of the reporting requirements for generics as a bit unnecessary because of the savings that we bring and the fact that when a generic comes into market, prices immediately go down. So to that point, I want to thank you and your staff for understanding the what's important to differentiate between the brands and generics on this bill. Understanding the need to differentiate between our supply chains and the reporting requirements and all the such. As such, I can answer any questions regarding the generics or anything else. But again, thank you to you and your staff for your work on this bill, and we look forward to continue to work with you.
Thank you, Mr. O'Connor. Dr. Giewanter, who I appreciate you sending. Good morning. I appreciate you sending me an email about this, and we're a little bit pressed for time, so I don't want to rush you, but we did hear you in subcommittee.
Yes, I understand, and I appreciate your tolerance with me, Delegate Sickles and members of the committee. I want to thank you again for bringing this bill forward, and I appreciate it being a work in progress. But I have some concerns. Your staff was kind enough to send me the latest version to look at while you were discussing other things. And I continue to have concerns about some of the changes you made. One is, and I totally appreciate your desire to make sure that all discounts go to consumers. However, the change you made in the definition of rebates will not do that. The definition now, in the previous versions, had total price concessions essentially as a definition of rebate, whereas the current definition does not do that. And we know that various PBMs and carriers have just reduced the total amount of official rebates they receive. So I would recommend going back to your previous definition of total that really accounted for total price concessions. Yep. I think my other concern is with your annual reports. This only gives us a snapshot, and it's like looking at a highway camera of I-95 at one point in time. It doesn't tell you about the real traffic flow. And so I think we really should have quarterly reports starting with April 1st so that one can have a much better idea of what is going on with drug pricing and see whether it relates to contracts, changes, whether it's enrollment periods or what other reasons are behind that. I would point out that, and as you've heard me obsess over, that there are multiple definitions throughout this bill, which allows for multiple interpretations and the potential for data not to be directly comparable with each other. So I would again recommend that you have a single definition. You add a single definition section that applies to all parts of the bill, so that we're not comparing apples to oranges, to Brussels sprouts to chicken, because that is certainly possible. I would also point out in line 440 and that section that your definition of health benefit plan, that definition expired on January 1st of this year. And I would therefore recommend that between lines 448 and 490, that you strike the term benefit and just use the definition of health plan that you have later in the bill. And I guess my final concern is with a single report on April 1st of 2022, you're not going to talk about this till 2023, and consumers are not going to see any benefit until 2024. And so I think your constituents really need to have something before then. So thank you for your tolerance with me, and I am happy to discuss it further and help you in any way I can.
Thank you. I mean, I think some of those things you said we could work on. This business about, I think it's better that over time, and I know I find it ironic that your position is so consistent with Big Pharma on the rebates. I mean, they like rebates as a marketing tool, and you like them for some other reason. But that's why we want to make sure that we understand that we want a price that's low, the low price and less obfuscation. So, I mean, that I would like to work with you more as we go forward. But all that other stuff that you mentioned, I think is no one can disagree that we need better definitions and we can label the health plan better and that type of thing. And as far as the single versus multiple reports per year, I mean, this is government, doctor. We have to take the first step before we take the second step. If we get a system up, maybe we can, work toward real-time information at some point, and maybe not quarterly, but right now we don't have this together now. So do you have any response to that before I ask we have a longer discussion coming on mandatory outpatient treatment later, as I'm reminded from my good colleague here.
Yes.
Okay.
If I could, I am not in the pocket of Big Pharma. I am not against about rebates.
I didn't mean to say that. I didn't say that. I said it's
okay.
Like running. That's all.
However, what I really, what we're, and you and I have talked about this before. What we're really talking about are not prices. We're talking about cost, and the bottom line cost is the total price concessions, not just rebates.
The price I pay is the cost for me. So
but the total cost that the PBM pays to buy the drug.
Sure.
And I'll refer you to an email I sent that shows a report from the United States Senate Finance Committee showing that there are a lot of problems with the PBM contracting. There are, in fact, manufacturers who lose money when you look at the profit.
Maybe why the big companies are taking this responsibility back into their own company and not contracting with PBMs anymore, which is a service to them. Can we move?
The PBMs have made more money than the health insurers, and that data is out there.
Okay. Thank you so much. Let's move to, we've got on for the bill is Scott Johnson, Christina Burrill with the Virginia pharmacist, Howard Estes with the Virginia pharmacist, and Lauren Rowley with PCMA. So we want to start with Mr. Johnson real quickly. Can you make it like in 30 seconds, Scott?
Sure. Good morning, Mr. Chairman. Scott Johnson, representing the Virginia Biotech Association. We're committed to keep working with you on the language, because just remember, these rules apply for the little small startup companies that we're trying to innovate and get going, as well as the big ones. So we're committed to the process, and thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. either Howard or Christina, either one of you or both, can you keep it real quick? From the Virginia pharmacists?
Am I on? I don't know.
Yes, you are.
Oh, here I am.
Good morning, Ms. Burrell.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. I'm Christina Borelli, Executive Director for the Virginia Pharmacists Association. And like Scott said, and also Dr. G, we think that this is a good step for introducing transparency. We're all for transparency. We have not reviewed the substitute, so I can't get into details with that yet, but we would just like to remind you that PBMs also make a lot of money on administration fees. So we do think that there is more transparency that can be inserted into this bill, and we look forward to continue working with you on it. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Rowley, welcome. Thank you, Ms. Borelli.
Mr. Chair, Lauren Rowley is not in the room.
Okay. All right. So those are the witnesses that have signed up. We do have a couple other folks, but that have no position. Okay. You've heard it. It's still a work in progress. It's a little bit better than last time. It's a first step, and if you like the bill, someone can make a motion, or if you don't, you can move to PBI.
Chairman, I love transparency, and I put a bill on a similar issue for in the past year. I move to report this bill.
Second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. And speaking to the motion, Delegate Hodges?
Actually, had my hand raised for a quick question, Mr. Chairman.
Certainly.
There's an audit provision in here. The department shall adopt regulations which shall allow for auditing and coming up with that, and how they'll do that, and I guess what they will audit. With the department really not having expertise in this, is there anything that prohibits them from working with the Bureau that has expertise, or should we clarify that? The Bureau would have the expertise in the auditing with that.
Right. Okay.
I'm just, maybe something to look at moving forward.
Okay. We'll look at that.
Okay. Thank you.
So we got a motion to report and refer to appropriations.
Second.
And it's been seconded earlier, and I've got another one. And so, yes, who's
Mr. Clerk, is there a substitute?
Yes.
I move to report and refer substitute with two appropriations.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Clerk, for reminding us that.
Second.
Very important. Delegate Tran, Delegate Levine withdraws his earlier motion, and now the current motion is to report and refer the substitute to appropriations, seconded by Delegate Tran. And there's no further discussion. Clerk, please.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, Delegate Rasul.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Just briefly, speaking to the bill, Mr. Chair.
Speaking to the motion?
Speaking to the motion. Thank you, Mr. Chair. We had a great series of work group discussions, and one of the points that really stuck out with me from one of the presentations is we can't afford to save $1 trillion, which was talking about these rebates and some of the masking that is there, and certainly a lot more of the challenging. A lot of the potential points that we heard, I was hoping that we would see in this bill. I appreciate where we're coming from and trying to make sure we increase some of the transparency. As I mentioned, I won't be able to support the bill right now because I think we could be going a little further, but certainly we'll look forward to continue watching it.
Yeah, I'd like to ask, did we ask for specific comments on this the other day at committee, and you were there, and did you send us any specific comments to achieve your goals?
Mr. Chair, I had stated some in committee.
Okay. Well, I asked specifically that we needed stuff in writing to this is confusing stuff. We really need some language. So anyway, thank you for that comment. I'm sorry you can't support the bill. And so is there any further comment? Okay. Clerk, please open the roll. Delegate Aboli? please close the roll, Madam Clerk. Thank you. And the bill is reported and referred to appropriation on a vote of 21-0. And Delegate Hope, what is your bill number? It is 2166.
That's right, Mr. Chairman.
66. And I turn the floor over to you. And
thank you, Mr. Chairman. The subcommittee, we had a hearing for well over an hour to walk through some of the changes that we're making. This bill will make various reforms to mandatory outpatient treatment to clarify certain provisions and to make this a more usable option for certain individuals who meet criteria, and that is those that are a danger to themselves or others. And this will be, if successful, this will be a least restrictive model for those that are eligible. This bill also includes multiple protections for consumers as well. There was a lot of work put in this proposal, Mr. Chairman. I've carried bills for the last 4 years to make these changes and to get to this point. At least 2 solid years of study but this is still a work in progress. This is a consensus proposal that is modeled largely after best practices. There was a lot of give and take in this proposal. I will point out that there are a couple areas of disagreement, namely the need for the agreement with the individual to be placed in mandatory outpatient treatment, and the length of time are also areas of concern. We're extending this from 90 days to up to 180 days. But the vast majority of the other changes are in agreement by all parties. I will just make a couple quick points, and I'll walk through some of the provisions of the bill. This makes vast improvement to the current system, and I have to keep reminding people and myself to this. We already have mandatory outpatient treatment. It is already an option that is utilized across the Commonwealth. It's not utilized everywhere, but mostly in urban areas. But that's part of the reason why we're doing these reforms, because the language was very confusing and a lot of special justices interpreted the applicability for MOT in different ways. And so we're making these reforms, and we've collected a lot of different information along the way. I think this bill will make it a much more useful tool, and it does so in a least restrictive way. And also a very important point that I wanted to point out is that there's a delayed enactment clause until July of 2022. That's really for a couple reasons. One is we wanted to continue to give some time to perfect some things, not to relitigate things that were already hashed out and already have full consensus in the work group, but also give some training time, but also for the CSBs to use this tool, but also for special justices, the Supreme Court, a chance to train as well. We want to make sure that while this won't apply to everyone, it will be a select group of people that would be eligible. We want to make sure that we know who those individuals are that will be the most successful. As I said, it makes several different reforms to our step down program, which we discussed at length at subcommittee. It does simplify the process for judicial review process. In other words, it authorizes MOT for participants, treatment providers, the petitioner of the emergency custody order, of the TDO or hearing that led to the MOT, the healthcare agent in the MOT's participant advance directive, or guardian or advanced healthcare decision maker pursuant to initiate the hearings. It also authorizes, but it doesn't require the special justices to hold status hearings. It will also consolidate MOT hearings into 2 hearing types, the status hearing and the review hearing type. It also removes the existing requirement that I mentioned that the person must agree to abide by the proposed treatment plan. In full disclosure, not everyone likes that, but the vast majority do. The statute should require a judicial finding that the person has the ability to abide by the order before being ordered for the treatment. Also, the other issue that was contentious is, as I mentioned, expand the duration and the initial MOT order from 90 days up to 180 days for both direct and step down MOT. And so I'll stop there, Mr. Chairman, to see if there's any questions. We do have Heather Zell. I believe she's in the public room. That she led the effort with the stakeholder work group with the department and Professor Bonnie. and she can answer some technical questions. I know Ms. Stanton is obviously very well versed in this as well.
Delegate Hope, do you have a substitute?
We do have a substitute that I believe that was moved at the subcommittee, so I would move the substitute.
Mr. Chair, it wasn't a substitute. It was a series of line amendments. Those were adopted in the subcommittee meeting and have been available on LIS since that time.
Okay, so there's nothing new out there to release now. And thank you. Thank you for taking this on. I mean, what a challenge this has been over the years to get this right. And it's important to get it right, as I think you'll hear from some of the witnesses. And we've got a bill together before us here that has there is one witness here for the bill, and then there's only two witnesses against the bill. And then we have, for reference for the members, we have Heidi Dix from the Behavioral Health. We have Dr. Heather Zell from the UVA Institute of Law, Psychiatry and Public Policy has been providing this work group support. And also Jennifer Faison from the Virginia Association of CSBs are here. I would like to hear from Jennifer Faison, even though she's listed as no position, since her agencies that she represents plays a critical role in how all this unfolds. So if it's okay with the committee, anybody have any questions first of Delegate Hope? We'll hear a little bit of testimony, and you may have questions for Delegate Hope. That sounds right to me. Any objections to that? Committee, anyone? Okay, so why don't we hear from the witnesses opposed to the bill first, and the first one is Colleen Miller, the Executive Director of the Virginia Disability Law Center. Colleen, can you join the room? Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Hey, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I can't get it to stay off of mute. Okay, I'll try it again. Colleen Miller from the Disability Law Center of Virginia. Thank you very much. We had an opportunity to express our opposition at subcommittee, and I had really signed up to speak today in case there was a further substitute.
Okay.
So I think our positions were really fully considered. Thank you.
Would you just make a summary statement for the full committee here on why you oppose this legislation? Just to
Absolutely. Absolutely, happy to. There's really two key components, as Delegate Hope already expressed. One of them is the automatic extension of the order to 180 days, to a full half year of somebody's life. And although the legislation says that it can be up to 180 days, in our experience, the courts are going to just kind of use that as a default deadline. And the reason why that matters is because many of our constituents, after a period of hospitalization, are trying to go back to work, are trying to regain their employment that they may have had to put on hold. And employers simply will not hold, they're not required to hold a job open for that length of time. I've asked Delegate Hope if he would put just like a little speed bump language in the bill, asking courts to consider the impact of the order on somebody's possibility of employment. And he said he's willing to continue to work with us on it. So I think we can probably come to some kind of acceptable language around that. Our second point of disagreement is removing the consideration of whether the individual will actually agree to participate in the MOT. The truth of the matter is that professionals who are administering the treatment plan are not going to hold somebody down and administer medication if the individual doesn't want to participate. And it seems just sort of unnecessarily insulting to the individuals who are subject to the order to not even ask them whether they are willing to agree to the order. So those are two areas.
Yeah, Ms. Miller, doesn't that happen today under current law, though, in some situations?
What's that?
Mandatory treatment when people are having psychotic episodes or something?
Oh, yeah. I mean, people can be involuntarily committed to hospitals if they're
Right.
not willing to go along with treatment. But for outpatient treatment, the current law requires them to agree with the treatment plan.
Okay. Thank you very much. Jennifer Spangler here. Would you like to, I think you testified at subcommittee, but this is a complex issue. If you have something very quick you might want to say, thanks for participating in this issue thoroughly. We're not supposed to debate these things again at full committee, but this is a complicated issue. And I'm informed that Delegate Bell has a line amendment to Delegate Hope. Okay, maybe Jennifer Spangler can't get in the room. So let's hear from a supporter of the bill, Lisa
I'm
Daly.
here.
Okay, Ms. Spangler, can you keep it real short?
Yes, sir. I'm sorry, I wasn't aware you were here. So I entered in MOT by my parents at 20. I was a junior with a bright future, outpatient providers, and a support network. In my distress and lack of knowledge of community resources, my parents were not notified without my consent. MOT was 9 to 3. My medication was switched. Therapy with my estranged parents was required. The arts and crafts were humiliating as a professional. My medication made me catatonic. I could barely speak, let alone drive. I dropped out of school. My support network moved on. My undergrad internship had been filled, and my outpatient providers couldn't see me for months. Naturally, at that age and stage of development, I believe my life was ruined. I went back to live with my parents while my peers entered the workforce, and I had no involvement in my treatment. And MOT can be an asset. I hope further work can be done, but as written, it can harm folks. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Daly, can you join the room from the Treatment Advocacy Center in Arlington? Ms. Daly?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes,
can you hear me?
Please proceed, and if you could keep it brief, it would be greatly appreciated.
Yes, certainly. I was involved in the drafting of the bill, and I also work in various states across the country in working on these exact kinds of bills and these exact kinds of laws. And as Delegate Hope has mentioned previously, mandatory outpatient treatment is a thing that already exists in Virginia, but it exists in a very flawed form. Special justices find it difficult to apply. CSBs find it difficult to apply. And it does not currently really have a lot of opportunities for the individuals who are subject to an MOT order to bring the matter to court to have it reviewed. And the purpose of our work group is to work on those specific issues. We reached consensus on the things that made it into this bill. And this bill will make things a lot better. And will make the law a lot more practicable, and will make it possible for more people to receive their treatment in a less restrictive setting out of a hospital, which ultimately is the goal of really all of the stakeholders. So I definitely support the bill, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Daly. Delegate Hope, do you have anything further to say before we call on Delegate Bell for his amendment?
No, I don't. I mean, like I said, this is a work in progress, and I hope and expect we can keep it going and continue to do that.
Thank you. Delegate Bell, the floor is yours.
Mr. Chair, could Sarah report the amendment either? I don't know how the best way to do that. It's not very long.
Yes, Mr. Chair and Delegate Bell, I just released the amendment on LIS as well, so it'll be available there. The amendment is on line 214 of the bill. Towards the end of that line, there's a Romanet 7 in the word describe. After that, we're going to insert the following language. Romanet or subsection B, any conditions, including scheduled meetings or continued adherence to medication necessary for mandatory outpatient treatment to be appropriate for the person. And C, how the Community Services Board shall determine whether such conditions continue to be met throughout the duration of the mandatory outpatient treatment period, and what actions the Community Services Board will take to respond if the conditions are no longer met. We're also going to add a small a, right after the word describe to make clear that these are 3 clauses within that larger clause.
Delegate Bell.
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, the chair, you just said after a subcommittee meeting that you wanted things in writing, and poor Delegate Hope is made the same request, and so he and I have been swapping language back multiple iterations. This is one that I believe he thinks is friendly. But the issue would be that when someone is released outpatient, this is a very vulnerable population, and there are any number of terms that they are told to comply with as part of the treatment plan. But there's a few, it might be as few as one, and in some cases none, but there's a few that are so important that if they're not met, the person is not appropriate for outpatient treatment. In other words, we're afraid they will go missing or hurt themselves or even hurt somebody else. And so this is an effort with as few changes as possible to the rest of this. You could have rewritten the whole thing, but to try to identify those conditions that are necessary for outpatient to be appropriate, and that's the language from the rest of the code when they're trying to decide if the person can manage to be treated outpatient. And then specificity about how we're going to keep track of those and what will happen if they don't comply. And that's the amendment. And there will be some people that think it's great, some people that think it's not. But in terms of just the clarity of what we're saying is going to happen if someone is approved for outpatient, given the nature of the population we're talking about, is an amendment I think is appropriate and would move it. Thank you.
Thank you. So, Delegate Hope.
Speaking to the amendment.
Delegate Hope.
Mr. Chairman, Delegate Bell and I have talked a lot about this, and this is the issue for Delegate Bell, and he feels very strongly about this. And I have to admit, I mean, ever since I've come to the legislature, I've looked to Delegate Bell on this issue. He knows a tremendous amount about it, and this is something he feels very strongly about. And I've reminded him, as you just did with Ms. Miller, I mean, this is already, mandatory outpatient treatment is already happening right now. And so what this bill seeks to do is put guardrails and other precautions in the bill. And I think that this bill accomplishes that. And I do believe that the current version does have what Delegate Bell would like to see, but he'd like to see these words, and he feels very strongly about it. I do believe what Delegate Bell is offering as an amendment, which I will accept. I do believe that the CSBs are already doing it. I think they do it every single time. I don't know that they put it in writing. I don't know if they put it in the order or put it in the treatment plan, but I do believe that they exercise sound, good clinical judgment with every individual, and everyone is different. And, whether it's Patrick Hope, they might monitor him a lot closely than Delegate Sickles.
Okay.
But, and so I think that they already exercise this, and I think it's just trying to get to a place that everyone can live with. That's why I say that this is a work in progress. And I believe the CSBs have some concern about what Delegate Bell is proposing. I think they believe it's already in the code, and it's something that they already do. But I also want to respect Delegate Bell because he feels very strongly about this, and he doesn't want anything bad to happen. And I think that's everyone's goal and objective. So I would accept Delegate Bell's amendment as a friendly one to keep this process moving and to see if we can continue working with everyone, all stakeholders, on this issue and others to get it right.
Did someone move the amendment?
So moved.
Amendment's been moved by Delegate
Second.
by Delegate Fowler. Without objection, the amendment is accepted. And since this Delegate Hope did mention the role of CSBs here, and they are the ones operating the space. Ms. Faison, could you enter the room, and if you have any comments on the bill as amended, as it's moving through the process?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. I think that Delegate Hope summarized my concerns.
Okay, so you have some concerns, and but he also said, which I think is true, tell me if I'm wrong, that you do this every day now. I mean, this is your job to make sure that all this stuff that Delegate Bell wants in the amendment is done, right? This is what you do?
We do, and I think the substitute language that you had was pretty clear on the treatment plan and the provisions that the individual is supposed to have in place in order to be successful in mandatory outpatient treatment. that is already in the bill. So I would say, that it does represent a redundancy to add this language. And, the Delegate Bell and Delegate Hope have received my comments on those amendments, and I've just indicated to Delegate Hope if he felt as though the amendments were friendly with the comments that I provided, then of course it's his within his purview to move forward with it. And I do think that we've had numerous discussions on this, and the substitute that you had before you, I think, covered all the concerns. So
Thank you, Ms. Faison. Okay, is there any further discussion or questions of the patron or Delegate Bell? The bill as amended would have to be reported to appropriations if it was approved.
Mr. Chair.
Delegate Price.
Yes, thank you. I want to highlight too from the subcommittee discussion, speaking to the bill, Mr.
Delegate Price, please.
Thank you. I want to highlight from the subcommittee discussion that there was testimony, forgetting who, but mentioned that through this process, this was the best version of this bill that they had seen. So I did want to uplift that and appreciate the patron's hard work on this and his patience with me with all of my questions being kind of newer to this space. I am going to support the bill today, Mr. Chairman, but I did want to uplift two concerns that were given during subcommittee that I would like to continue conversation on as it moves forward. And that was with the testimony that we again heard today with the increasing the period from 90 days to 180. There was an expressed concern with potentially FMLA with anything that's longer than 90 days. And so not as people are getting help, we don't want them to also lose their job and lose the insurance that covers their ability to get said help. So I did want to do a little bit more digging into that with some of the concerns. And then also, I understand involving family within these types of conversations, but also hearing from some of those with lived experiences, if family is the trigger, I just wanted to see what we could do to have discussions about making sure that we're not adding the people that are potentially harmful to the situation that's deciding someone's care, especially if they're not able to have a willingness or capacity conversation to comply. And then just also that conversation about the willingness or capacity, the statement was made that it would be that imposing treatment on someone that doesn't want it is a waste of resources. And so I'm not sure if in this flow that someone goes through this system, if there's an additional channel for that. But I do appreciate the conversation. I appreciate the goal to get to a less restrictive environment. And so for that, I have a motion at the appropriate time.
Is there any further discussion, any questions for the patron? Okay, it's the appropriate time.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, I move that we report the bill as amended.
And refer
appropriations.
And refer to, is it?
Yeah, it's in block 1.
And refer to appropriation.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we report to appropriations. So now the vote is open. And thank you, Madam Clerk. Please register your approval or disapproval on the electronic voting device. And HB, Delegate Avoli.
Aye.
And Delegate Hayes.
Aye.
We got you. Delegate Hayes. Delegate Hayes votes aye. So the motion to report and refer with amendments to appropriations passes on a vote of 22-0. Madam Clerk, do we have time to start into the block 2?
Mr. Chair, I don't believe we do. I think we'll take up block 2 in block 5 today.
Okay. I'm sorry about that, but this was, I have to say to the members that these were important and difficult bills, complicated bills today. And I want to thank everyone who worked hard to get some of this stuff in the case of this last bill, over some years now, to get it in a position that it could pass this committee, especially unanimously. So pat yourselves on the back. Good work, everybody. And I will see you in Block 5, the committee.
If I put in an enactment clause, and basically the purpose is we'll wait, the